Salve Regina, Mater misericordiae, vita dulcedo, estes nostra salve.
The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. The mother of Jesus and his brothers arrived at the house. Standing outside, they sent word to Jesus and called him. A crowd seated around him told him, "Your mother and your brothers and your sisters are outside asking for you." But he said to them in reply, "Who are my mother and my brothers?" And looking around at those seated in the circle, he said, "Here are my mother and my brothers. Whoever does the will of God is brother and sister and mother." The Gospel of the Lord. From the book of Samuel this morning, you see David bringing the Ark of the Covenant with all these festivities. He's not only presenting himself on this occasion as the king, but he's presenting himself as the father and the priest of the household of Israel. In other words, this activity that he is doing is he's binding himself in a familial relationship with the whole nation of Israel. He's saying, "I'm your father, kids." And now what he's doing is he's leading his family as the head of his family in worship of the Lord God, which is what leaders of families should be doing according to their culture, but also according to our Catholic culture. Leading in worship, gathering the household of the family and feeding them. And this is how he finishes it. He sends them all with something to eat. There are beautiful images going on here with gathering the community, giving them the presence of the Lord in the ark, and bringing them to adoration and worship. And then there's this whole Eucharistic tone here where he's had bread made and he's feeding them and he's giving them sustenance to eat. You can almost see in the future coming the feeding of the 5,000 with the loaves and the fish. Here is David foreshadowing all this and feeding his people as a father who loves his dear children. And now what you see with Jesus, this whole family atmosphere, Jesus opens the door on this himself by basically demonstrating that his family the Holy Family for him isn't just about Mary and Joseph and Jesus. The Holy Family is all those who are the children of his Father. All those who are the children of God. And in the same way as David sees the nation as his family, Jesus has previously announced that there's a kingdom at hand. This is how the Gospel of Mark begins. And now what he is saying is anyone in this kingdom is part of my family. And this family stretches beyond the kingdom so that our family can continue to grow. And so he sustains this family by leading his children into worship and teaching them about the Father, and he would even feed them on his own body and blood. He marks the character of this family by this trait. He says that his family are those, whoever does the will of God is my brother, my mother, and my sister. So this family is about being in unity with the Father under his will, under his plan. And that's worked out in very daily routines. You could say that the family is the workshop of fidelity to God and all other human relationships. Let me say that again. The family is the workshop of fidelity to God and of all other human relationships. If you can't get along in a family, you're not going to get along where you work, and you're not going to get along outside in the community. If you can't learn those things there in the family, it's not going to happen in the outside of the world. And so this daily fidelity of like a family where patience is practiced, probably one of the most often confessed sins. I'd say it's in the top 5, patience, especially when someone has children. Big, high on the list, okay? So for patience, forgiveness. And one of the things that I think is important in family life also is, as much as we place an importance on the children, somehow a family has to manage the sanctity and the primacy of the relationship of husband and wife, because that's where the whole Christian love is modeled and exemplified for the children. That's where the dying and the rising is modeled in the sacrifice of husband and for wife and wife for husband. Yes, the family is the workshop for fidelity to God and all other human relationships. And this is what Jesus demonstrates. He is building a family of which we are part of.
Regina Celi, letare, alleluia, qui aquam